everybody. Welcome to the nerd1 podcast. This is Andrew, and I'm here with my brother Chuck. Who's on the other end? I don't know where he is. Chuck, are you there?
I prefer the name Chuck, the tough duck.
The toughest duck that I know.
And what animal are you again? Are you some kind of a weasel like Bobby Heenan?
I would be an anteater, is what I prefer to be called. Anteater is the proper term for me. So we're going to be talking today about professional wrestling. We're going to have a few different topics. First of which, I will turn to Chuck.
Well, one of the biggest things going right now is the rumors of, Brock Lesnar, coming up and facing Cena at SummerSlam and possibly winning the title there from him. Do you think there's any chance of that at all?
I'm not impressed with the idea. I think it's absurd. I think Brock Lesnar's time has come. I don't even understand why they brought him back. A lot of people like to treat him like he's a big name, he's a household name. I personally don't want to see that. I hope it doesn't happen. But knowing the way the WWE has been the last year, and I know they try to act like it's a gimmick where they're basically telling the fans, oh, you didn't get what you wanted, that's so sad. But I see it as they're doing it on purpose, maybe to cover up the fact that they're really doing it. They want to make it look like it's a story, but it's really happening. I mean, they really don't care what the fans want. And the WWE is basically just saying, well, as long as people keep buying the merchandise, we're going to keep doing whatever the heck we want. And honestly, I think that's the reason for the low, I think that's the reason that so many people were unhappy with John Cena winning the world title at Money in the Bank. I think that hurt them tremendously. I can't imagine that the WWE is going to. I can't imagine that the WWE is gonna keep going down this road. I mean, at some point they're gonna have to let it go. They're gonna have to say people don't want to see Brock Lesnar. People don't want to see John Cena. They want the CM Punks. They want the CM Punks. They want the Daniel Bryans. They want these people to be on top, and that's what they want.
Well, what I think one of the good things they did was, like with John Cena, he helped actually make CM Punk what he was. That was the feud that put CM Punk over, was John Cena, and it's the same with Daniel Bryan. Their feuds with John Cena, because he was already an established name, and he put those two over. Right now, I don't understand why they gave Cena the title, unless he's going to be putting over somebody new. And Lesnar isn't new. I wish they would make SummerSlam more about like Lesnar, maybe versus somebody like Bray Wyatt, and have Lesnar versus like a member of the Shield. That way they attract the viewers to it.
I see where you're going, but I worry that it's all too much anyway. I'm happier with the fact that, like I said, you have a CM Punk as the champion, or you have a Daniel Bryan as the champion, you have Sheamus as the champion. I mean, they've got a lot of names right now. A lot of people they could give the belt to, but they're giving it to John Cena and saying none of these people are worthy. And that, to me, just seems condescending to tell the fans don't know better. And realistically, John Cena, to sell merchandise, John Cena needs to not have the title. They want John Cena to be in the position where he's chasing the title, not that he has the title. They're going to sell more merchandise that way with John Cena not as the world champion. So they're shooting themselves in the foot. And it's because they want to hold on to ratings, and they're trying so frantically to make the WWE Network work And when that 6-month period comes around, a lot of people are going to cancel. Because, originally you signed up for 6 months at a time. They said when your 6 months are up, you can cancel. A lot of people are going to be canceling at the 6-month point. A lot of people. And why? It's because the last 6 months have sucked. WrestleMania? I mean, come on. You get all these pay-per-views a year, okay? You get 12 pay-per-views a year, but they're never good pay-per-views. They're never worth watching. I mean, WrestleMania was a disappointment.
Yeah.
Money in the Bank, disappointment. Another pay-per-view was in between the two. I don't remember what it was called. Was it Elimination Chamber? No, it wasn't Elimination Chamber. It was, I don't even know what the other one was. Hardcore Rules. It was Hardcore Rules, wasn't it? And I watched the whole thing, and I was disappointed.
I know. Well, that's what I was trying to say, because of the Rumble, at that point, if they would have given Daniel Bryan the Royal Rumble win, or the title at the Rumble, I don't think the crowd would have been chanting boring. They waited for WrestleMania, and, WrestleMania, no matter what would have happened, I think would have ended the same way, with everybody cheering for Daniel Bryan. But, you figure people were disappointed in the Royal Rumble, which nobody should ever chant boring at your pay-per-view when you could have, Daniel Bryan leave in a good situation.
Right. Well, and the boring chants, I mean, you figure they were doing the boring chants, against Brock Lesnar and Goldberg years ago. And that to me says a lot. I mean, who are they bringing back now? Brock Lesnar. To do the same things again. And just to redo everything they've already done, where he's going to basically just be shitty and have a bad attitude, and no one's going to want him around. So, why have him there?
I know, well, at WrestleMania, you weren't here with us, but you could ask anybody, you were here, huh? Well, I was chanting boring during the Undertaker match. I was like, do move, do something, make this exciting. Because, Undertaker, ever since he started wrestling, I would say Shawn Michaels, he's had match of the year every year. And the Brock Lesnar match was just completed utter garbage to me. Not the fact that Lesnar won, just being the match just didn't live up to anything. But
no, and I mean, yeah, and there's the idea that you have these charismatic superstars like Shawn Michaels and stuff. And like I said, I mean, for Shawn Michaels, the thing that made WrestleMania 12 so great was that Shawn Michaels was chasing the belt. He was somebody who you wanted to see become world champion. What really was great about that was you were watching your Vines merchants you want to see happen, but by WrestleMania 13, you didn't need him as the world champion anymore. That's the thing. I mean, where's Brock Lesnar going? Do you want to see Brock Lesnar chasing for the world title? Not really. Do you want to see Brock Lesnar as the world champion? Not really. It was always the same with The Undertaker. Do you really want to see The Undertaker chasing the belt?
no.
Do you want to see The Undertaker with the belt? You don't really want these things to happen. I mean...
But, I know, well, that's what I was trying to, say online today to somebody. Because when Eric Young won the title, he came out and he gave a speech about how what the title meant to him. And it was a heartfelt speech. And, that isn't done anymore. John Cena's like, the champ is here. And it's like, you don't feel that he wants to be champion. You feel that he's just there to sell you something. And that's the problem I have with Cena. Cena's kind of like what DX is. They go out there, they go, well, come to WWEshop.com. And that's what John Cena is. He's a giant poster to sell stuff. And when he has the belt, it's not about the belt. It's about him trying to make you buy a t-shirt.
Correct. Well, remember when he used to wear the different jerseys from the different teams? all those team jerseys, obviously, weren't marketing for him. He was selling somebody else's shirts. WWE started putting John Cena in his own shirts so that they could start selling his shirts. And that's the thing. And it's like, I know there was a lot of wrestlers you saw back in the 90s that were doing that wearing their own shirts, like a Bret Hart or Steve Austin. But it's, with John, it's a joke. I mean, it really changed his character. He went from being the guy who wore the jerseys, he had the spinning belt. The last couple times he had the spinner belt, he never spun it.
I know.
That belt was designed for him. It made it spin just for him. So,
well, I know.
What's the point? I mean, when the characters evolved so much that John Cena, he's like any other guy who's on the top, where you finally get to the top and you do the same 4 moves. You don't do anything special. You don't do anything original. And, all of this stuff that was, like, non-politically correct, he's the most politically correct guy now. They used to call his finishing move the FU. Now it's called the Attitude Adjustment. And the STF is called the STFU. So, you have these major issues with John Cena's character where he's evolved to the point where he's just another Hulk Hogan. At one point did Hulkamania settle in, and that's all he was.
I know.
Was the brand of Hulkamania. And he didn't wrestle anymore. Well, Hulk Hogan never wrestled. But he got so lazy that all he would do was the leg drop, the big boot and the leg drop. And he wouldn't even kick the guy. The guy would run into his foot.
And don't you remember when Savage helped himself handcuff himself?
Yes! It was Hogan. It was Hogan who helped Miss Elizabeth handcuff him.
I know. Or did you ever hear about Hogan's Fireball, the Ultimate Warrior in WCW? Hogan tried to do a fireball to the Ultimate Warrior in their Halloween Havoc match. And Hogan screwed up doing it and he lit himself on fire. It didn't even reach the Ultimate Warrior.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Good times. But what I was going to say is, Rey Mysterio, every time I check, he sometimes he's number 2 in the highest selling merchandise in WWE.
Like that's the only reason they keep him around, otherwise they wouldn't want Rey Mysterio there.
Yeah.
Their major issue with Rey Mysterio is the merchandising, because otherwise they don't like him. They're tired of him. They're tired of his knees going out. They're tired of him being injured. And Rey Mysterio is not their normal guy. He's not the normal type of talent that they hire.
I know, but you figure what's funny about Rey Mysterio is, like, he's not even there right now. Like, he's missed so much that they legally had to take his contract and extend it because he missed so many days. And that's what I mean. Like, he sells so much merchandise and he's not even there half the time. Cena doesn't need the title to sell the merchandise now. But, like, a Daniel Bryan needs the title to go over right now.
No, well, and Daniel Bryan's the guy to give it to. I mean, the fans want to see it. But they're doing the gimmick where he's not really... And they've done the gimmick where they want Daniel Bryan to be champion, the fans do, but they don't do the gimmick where Daniel Bryan's chasing the title. All of that came together at WrestleMania, or the week before. It wasn't like you had the first part of the year, even after Royal Rumble, where he's chasing the title. They kept him busy with other stuff, whether it was the gimmick with the Wyatts, or, whatever else they were doing. And even though the fans wanted to see him as champion, the WWE wasn't even putting the story out there that he was chasing the belt. And that's what I didn't like.
I know.
And then what happened, was it the night after Royal Rumble when Triple H came out and he's saying to the fans, like, oh, somebody didn't get what they wanted. And you're like, well, yeah, I understand you're trying to turn this into a gimmick, but you really did screw up, Triple H. You really did mess up the show last night. So, there's a half of me that says that's great, that's a gimmick, but also the other half of me that says it's not really a gimmick, it's real.
I know, well, you mentioned WrestleMania 12 earlier. Which made WrestleMania 12 was, it was, you figure Shawn got knocked out by Owen, which was an awesome idea, came back at the Rumble as number 1, and ended the Rumble. And then the next night, Jim Cornette came out, and Shawn was like, the only thing I need now is to show I can beat Owen Hart. And Shawn put up his WrestleMania match against Owen at the next pay-per-view. So, everything Shawn did before WrestleMania 12, everybody knew was leading up to a world title match at WrestleMania 12. With Daniel Bryan, they didn't even, give you, there was no satisfaction. You didn't see Daniel Bryan win the Rumble. So you got aggravated. And it's just...
The Rumble was so bad and so irritating to everybody. It was like, what was the redeeming factor? Hey, you had to pay for that. That was before the WWE Network. What was the redeeming factor in that pay-per-view? What about it made it worth watching?
Exactly, that's...
So the next night, the Batista won. No one cared to see their guy lose.
But that was the thing, Batista didn't even leave on a good note. Didn't he leave crying or something like that in a wheelchair?
No, not this time.
Are you sure?
No, I saw it, yeah, he was just mad. He got, he gave Triple H a hard time.
No, I meant in 2011.
Yeah, oh yeah, exactly, yes, he did, yes. Yeah. No, that was beautiful, too. That was beautiful. Yeah, he was in a wheelchair and he was mad. So.
But, that's what I don't get. Don't get me wrong, the WrestleMania match with Batista or Daniel Bryan was actually a really awesome match. I loved it when they did the double powerbomb thing through the table. That was just a beautiful move. And to see Bryan walk out of there with a world title, it's awesome. They just should have set it up differently. They should.
No, Blue Batista champ.
I know.
Blue Batista. I still love that.
I know.
Well, was Batista back for a minute or what? He's gone already?
Did he even win a match?
Well, and that's, yeah, exactly. And here's the other thing, okay? They keep bringing back these people. Okay, Batista's gone, now Chris Jericho's back.
I know.
Is Chris Jericho back for good?
No.
Is Brock Lesnar back for good? How long is it until Brock comes back again? They bring these people back, and I would rather focus not on the wrestlers from 10 years ago who aren't doing anything anymore. I'd rather focus on the new guys. I'm tired of hearing about Batista. I'm tired of hearing about Chris Jericho, and I like Chris Jericho. I'm tired of hearing about these old awesome stars that keep coming back. I'm tired of it. I want to see a Sheamus become world champion again. Or, I want to see these guys back on top. The new guys. It's no different than the 90s where, Bret Hart was coming up and then Hulk Hogan wanted to show up at WrestleMania and win the belt.
I know. I never understood that. Why did Hogan get a world title match there? Did he just come out? I was like, hey Yoko, let's wrestle.
That's exactly what I remember, and it's not fair to Yoko because Yoko had just wrestled. So, doesn't make any sense to me.
But, I know.
But every now and then they do that, and it's like, I remember when CM Punk was world champion, and Undertaker just came out and attacked him for no reason at all, and everybody's treating Undertaker like the good guy, and I'm like, wait a second, CM Punk didn't do anything, Undertaker's the one screwing with him. There was no... CM Punk had done nothing. Nothing to him.
I know. Well, to me, my favorite moment like that is still when Bret Hart and Goldberg were in the WCW ring, and they were just talking. And Goldberg, he does the spear. And Goldberg's knocked out, and Bret Hart takes off his jersey, and he's wearing a metal chest plate. And everybody booed Bret Hart.
Yeah, that was great. Right, the same thing. It's like, well, Goldberg was going to attack him for no reason. So, oh man, that was, well, the good old days of wrestling back when things made even less sense.
I know.
Dang. Yeah, I remember the time that Ric Flair, for no reason, all stripped down to his underwear in the middle of the ring and then had a heart attack or something.
That was because of Bischoff.
Yeah, they said the Bischoff had drugged him or something.
Man, WCW was something else back in the day. Or when RoboCop came out to help Sting.
Oh, dude, don't get me started about that.
Man. Well, I know. Bad WCW gimmicks. They're just a million of them. But don't forget about when Undertaker, the guy who's come back from the dead, needs Chuck Norris to protect him. Do you remember that?
That was great, too. No, or the Dungeon of Doom. Oh my god, that was such a terrible idea. Terrible gimmick.
Well, I never really watched Kevin Sullivan in the 80s, but, if you hear what people say, he was supposed to be some kind of, iconic monster. Everybody says really good things about him, but he was always in the lesser-known federations.
Right, well, he was in ECW before he became a booker in WCW. Right before. And, seemed perfectly normal. He was wrestling, hardcore matches and stuff, doing the normal ECW thing. And, honestly, I don't understand what happened. I really don't. I don't get it, because how he went from being kind of this Satan-worshipping, gimmick in the Lesser Federation to being the booker in WCW in the matter of a year or two, and doing a shitty job at it, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But a lot of things don't make a lot of sense to me.
But I know if you really look at it, in the 90s, there was somebody told me there was a Pizza Hut manager who knew nothing about wrestling running WCW at one point. Ole Anderson, who was too old to understand the new product. Kevin Sullivan, Kevin Nash, Ric Flair. It just seems like they had so many bookers, and Dusty was a booker there too. And it just seemed like there were so many bookers that nothing ever stayed the same.
Right. Well, the worst booker was Booker T.
Was he actually a booker there?
No. They had Booker A all the way through Booker T.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, no, that was, no, you're right. I mean, the WCW just needed they needed a proper direction, and everybody always thought the answer was the head guy. And, it needed far more than that. It needed, it basically needed to be restructured. I mean, and part of that, I would say, maybe it was the leadership of the Crockett's. When the Crockett's were forced out of WCW by TBS and by Turner. Maybe that's what did it. Maybe that's what the problem was. Maybe they were that leadership. They've always said that if they could have lasted one more season, when they started selling tickets again, they would have been fine. They were just out of money temporarily. And they didn't have to sign everything over to Turner. They could have made it. But, that's what a lot of people say. I mean, it's like Paul Heyman. He says, well, if I'd known WCW was going under, I would have waited. I wouldn't have gone bankrupt. But, he kind of didn't have a choice but to go bankrupt. I mean,
I know.
does he honestly think he would become global as a result of WWE buying out WCW?
I know.
WCW was getting put down at the end. I mean, you know, and it's the same problem. I mean, you had talent leaving like crazy. You know, and how many times do you reveal talent before you end up with a show where you have Steve Corino as your world champion? And you have guys like Rhino who are being signed to the WWE, and guys like Mike Austin going to WCW. And constantly losing guys. I mean, your Shane Douglas was the franchise, and then you had Shane Douglas at the end in WCW. I mean, Shane Douglas had held out for all those years, and if you think about Shane Douglas, I mean, Shane Douglas was an NWA guy. Shane Douglas was in WCW until the early 90s, and then he ended up in ECW, you know, in the NWA territories and stuff. And he was always an NWA guy, and he did not want to go to WCW. His one stint in the WWE as Dean Douglas, nobody liked him. It didn't work out. ECW was the place that Shane Douglas wanted to be. Whether he says it or not, that's where he wanted to be. And the fact of the matter is, Shane Douglas going to WCW is a travesty. I mean, Paul Heyman screwed that up so bad by losing Shane Douglas.
Well,
and I hate Shane Douglas, by the way.
Well, the problem with Paul Heyman is that he just didn't understand business. You know, Paul Heyman had an ego. If the thing with Spike TV is, when you get a network, you have to at least play the game with it. And Paul Heyman didn't. Paul Heyman, you could tell by the stuff he would do, he wasn't playing the game with the network. Like Vince Russo, when he was booker of WCW, he was like, that's the hardest thing you have to do, because he said he had a joke, he made some kind of a fat joke, and he got protested on by the Fat People Associations and stuff like that. So everything Vince Russo would write, he would have to try to protect all these different aspects of it. And Heyman, he didn't even try to please like Spike TV. Like, he wasn't playing their games like Russo had to play to get Nitro to stay on their network.
Well, and the thing about it is this, and I would assume Spike TV had some basic things that they wanted from him, and I don't think that they were probably too much to ask. I mean, you still had the pay-per-views where they could go completely extreme. The pay-per-views, they had their leeway to do what they wanted. So why not, when you're on the TV show, why not do it that way? Why not do it their way at least a little bit? You're right. I mean, you should have played the politics. Okay, you don't want us cussing, fine. Or when we cussed, it wasn't like it was live. I mean, they made a couple live episodes, but they could have leaked it out. They could have done whatever they wanted. Obviously, they couldn't do the lesbian stuff, which it didn't matter. They didn't have a gimmick going anyways. It went that direction at the time. That was long before before TNN back then. It wasn't even Spike TV. That was long before the TNN days. So, I mean, you're right. I mean, he should have played the politics of it. He should have understood this is a TV network. If they're going to keep us on the air, we have to do what they want. But he also said that he felt from the very beginning like it was a setup. Like, they knew it wasn't going to last. They wanted to try a wrestling program to see if they could get one. And eventually, if you remember, the TNN thing didn't end with ECW quitting TNN. It ended with TNN, signing the WWE for Raw.
Well, yeah, I still don't understand that. Because they, in 1993, they were on USA. And then, for some strange reason, I think it was because of the dog show. Yeah, that's what it was. It was something like they kept cutting Raw for different things and putting it on different nights. And there was stuff like that. But then all of a sudden, ECW's on Spike TV, so WWF decides they need to put their show on TNN. That's just weird the way that happened. And then after ECW ended, they go back to USA.
Right, well, look at Spike TV, they still have a wrestling show. Now they have TNA. So, that's the thing, and they've been saying that if TNA goes off the air, they'll put another wrestling show in that time slot. Whether it's Ring of Honor or whatever, there will be another wrestling show in that time slot.
But people keep saying that, but like, when TNA signed with Spike TV, they made sure, it might have been Angle and Sting, but they made sure to get Angle, because Angle was a big name at the time. Spike TV wanted somebody they could, show the world to get them interested in the program.
Yeah, but see, that brings us to what's wrong with TNA. TNA could have made their own names. They had AJ Styles. AJ Styles was #1 on the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500. I mean, they had their opportunity to make their own stars, and they haven't taken it.
But, it's weird, though, because when you really do the math and stuff, I think Angle did more with TNA than he did with WWF now. Angle was actually the face of TNA. You know what I mean? It seems like Angle has spent most of his career there now, too.
Yeah, no, exactly right. I think Angle did create a pretty good career for himself. I think he's done quite well. And I think there's a lot of times with Angle in WWE where he came out as too cartoony. I really do.
Yeah, but that's what WWE is. It's not... To me, it's never really been that real. Like, well, it depends. Really, but... I don't know what you mean by cartoony. You mean by the way he used to dance around the ring?
No, I just felt like he wasn't this hardcore athlete that he pretended to be. I felt like the gold medals were a joke. It made, it sure seemed like he started with gold medals and stuff that really didn't feel like a whole, just a big old joke. That's all. So everything about it is kind of...
Well, I don't know. Like, I used to love it. I'm just going to throw out the name Taka Michinoku. If he were to beat Taka Michinoku, he would have the same celebration where he would run around the ring and stuff as if he were to have won the world title. Every match meant that much to him. And I just thought that was amazing when he used to do that stuff.
Correct. Exactly right. Well, we've been talking for about 35 minutes now. Let's call this first inaugural edition of the podcast to an end. This is the Wrestling and Everything Nerdy podcast. We wanted to give everybody a little taste of what the podcast is going to be like. We did get all over the map today. Sometimes it will be that way, sometimes it won't. But we hope you enjoyed it, and please listen. Thanks.
Good day, everybody.